This is my 26-week trauma recovery course printed out. Each week has a workbook and it has extra articles that go along with, that coordinate with the workbook. The first one you see here is Why Work on Trauma. And I go through the ACEs study. I tell personal stories in each workbook. And this story is heartbreaking. It's about a friend of mine who didn't work on his trauma. And I'll share that with you in the future. This is one of the extra. It's a checklist on why work on trauma or commit to healing. The next one is big T and little t traumas. That's important to realize the impact of trauma. The extra article with that is the big T, little t checklist. The third week is the process. It goes over the whole program, the whole course. And then there's also, in every workbook, there's exercises. Then there's always extra reading right here. This is the a checklist. And then number 4 is self-care. A personal story about how I used my self-care list when I was going through some of the hardest times of my recovery process. But here is it's 6 pages long. But there's details, let me take this off. There's details of all, these are just ideas of all the things you can do to take care of yourself. And it's very, very important to take care of yourself, to be kind to yourself. Now this one is relationships. And I tell a personal story. And then I have this little relationship wheel. And I go into all the relationship stuff. And then this is the extra article that goes with that. And then the next one, I think this is number 6, is the lessons. It's about therapy, and it's about my personal stories, the lessons that I learned from therapy, and why a therapist is good. I believe a therapist is good because when you were young, you could not talk about your trauma. And it's so good to finally be able to put words to what you went through. It does something to your brain. It's going to tell your brain you're not alone anymore. That's really important. Here's a list of what therapy is and what it's not. That's an extra article. Here's a guide to finding a good therapist. Week 7 is spirituality. And then I give you, this article is thought leaders on spirituality, like what Scott Peck, I love the Road Less Traveled book, says about that, and many of the other trauma, people who write about trauma or work with trauma survivors. Number 8 is about medications. Here's the medication spectrum. Then this one has a lot of extra articles to it. The balance and how to decide if you want to have medication and who to go to for the medication, what type of person, what type of doctor to work with for that. My personal medication story, it's got so many, but anyway, get the drift on that one. Then this one is trauma responses. It's so, in this whole section, I forget how many weeks there are on the brain and trauma responses and emotional regulation, but it's all ties in together. It's really uplifting to read. It's not like a psychology book where it's kind of boring, All of these have exercises. The next one is thoughts as clues. This is one of my favorite. So I'll just give you a tiny gist of this. Like, in the Catholic Church, we were taught that thoughts were sins, that they were bad, and you come out of trauma with a lot of bad thoughts. I mean, you want to kill the person that traumatized you. I mean, what do you do with that? And you know what you do with it? You allow yourself to have that thought. It's a normal thought, and thoughts are not deeds. It's not that you're going to do that thing that you're thinking about. So once you release all that and you realize that your thoughts are a blessing, they're not something that you should be ashamed of or try to stop. So this has a lot into it. There's stuff about thinking traps. This is a whole new thought leadership that I've created for thoughts, and I compared my trauma-based thinking framework, and I compared it to the thinking traps type of thinking. So that's all in this course, in this week's course. I say weeks, but I do the program bi-weekly or monthly, whatever works out for people. Oh, this one, I like this graphic. Emotional regulation. And this really helps with realizing what's going on in your brain to create this flood of emotions, and where you feel like, oh my gosh, like you're drowning. So it just comes in like a flood, and then you try to regulate it. And understanding what's happening will help you to regulate this stuff. So here's the extra stuff. There's exercises in each workbook. This is triggers, the hidden gems of healing. So that's like when oh my God, I used to be triggered by everything. I could not hear the word incest without freaking out. My whole body would just go, oh my God, I can't believe my friend just told me that. I can't believe I heard that on TV. I was so triggered all the time. So this is about the brain. This is about recovering from triggers. This is really good. It gives you things you can do when you are triggered to recover from it. And this is the anatomy of a trigger. This one is all about panic attacks, which I am very familiar with. Oh, and it's got the thought leadership that I clung to about panic attacks, which is a little different, I think, from a lot of what's out there. But this is the panic cycle. And let's see, this is the extra understanding panic attacks. So, this next one is no more secrets. It's about disclosure. And choosing to disclose or not to disclose, the alternative ways to disclose and heal. This is number feelings. It's all about how to sit with your feelings, the difference between feelings and emotions. So this is about the setup for the sitting with your feelings. There's several extras. There's a feeling checklist. I tried to create that feeling wheel, but it's out there. You could get it if you thought that was beneficial. What are feelings? And week 16 is attachments, and it's the attachment styles, anxious attachment. It goes into all of that stuff. Okay, what do we got here? And then other thought leaders' thoughts on attachments. A lot more stuff here. Then the next one is trauma bonds. I know there's a lot of information out there on trauma bonds. I focused on usually what's out there is the focus on typically it's the guy that's kind of, I wouldn't say demonized, but seen as the perpetrator, the instigator of the trauma. I don't know. But anyway, I chose to I did that side of it, but I also chose to look at the person in the trauma bond relationship. So I did an extra on that, and then I did trauma bonds with other family or work, in other relationships, how it shows up. So that was, I'm sure, really helpful. Then in here is grieving. Grieving is, I gave it a whole week. I gave it its own section. It's the emotion of grieving, because it's a very difficult one to go through, and there's a lot about grieving. There's not only, like, if we go to a funeral or somebody dies close to us, we have grieving. But in childhood trauma, there's a lot of grieving for what we didn't have. And we don't know what that is until we, like, work with a therapist or work with a coach and start, unraveling, where is this coming from? So this is all about the grieving. And then this is, I put the alien inside because it's about anger and rage. And I used to always be controlling and domineering with my ex-husband. He was very passive, so he let me be like that. But when I was yelling, I would, there was another part of me that said, oh my God, I feel like an alien's coming out of me. And I would say things to him like, you just think I'm worthless. And sometimes what comes out of our mouth is actually the little kid in us saying that stuff to somebody else. We project it onto other people. But anyway, and then there's a RISE framework here. There's so much. I really got so much satisfaction because I wanted to do this for years and years. The child within. I talk about holding my daughter for the first time, and this is about why and how you locked your child within to survive. And then this is week 21 about journaling. And I love this because in here it talks about how journaling helps the brain process trauma. There's something about the physical side. It just helps the different parts of the brain, the thinking brain, to organize it, the left and right hemispheres to process, and the amygdala. It's just miraculous. This is about dream interpretation. I learned so much from journaling about my dreams and trying to figure them out, and I read several books that helped me figure out how to interpret my dreams. So I share all that with you here. Then this one is planned regression. Actually, this is very advanced. You would have to have your network of support in place, but you allow yourself to regress into the trauma and get to the memory, get to the emotions and the emotional part of the memory. Then there is the unplanned regression. I tell these amazing stories, personal stories, about my experience with these things. Then there's forgiveness, a week on forgiveness. I leave this to the end because I really believe that forgiveness needs to happen after you get more of the impact of what you're forgiving. I don't think, like when I was in therapy, but I guess it was a buzzword going around. It's like, oh, maybe I should forgive. Maybe that would help me. And I read a book called, I swear it was called Forgiveness. It was a black book and it had green letters, Forgiveness. And I was just like, a part of me wanted to throw up because I was like, no, I couldn't connect with that. I had to do more processing before I was ready to forgive. And when I did forgive in the end, it was more of a spiritual forgiveness. It wasn't like I went to my dad, my mom, and I said, blah, 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 I forgive you. It was more of a process. Like, it's still evolving, where I I'm amazed at how deep my forgiveness is now. Anyway, I'm going deep on that. And the last one is resolution. What your life will look like when you have mastered the process, and maybe when you finish the course, you would be at a point where, oh, I have all these tools now. I have all of this knowledge, and I can continue on, and I know what I need to do next. You know, like the next right step after this course. It takes, for me, it took many years because I didn't get this that way overnight, and I wasn't going to heal overnight. And when I first started, I kept saying 6 months, I'm going to be done in 6 months. And it just doesn't work like that. So I don't want you to have any unreal expectations that this course will be everything that you need. It's everything that you need to understand how trauma affected you, and it gives you so many tools and so much support to transcend the trauma. And my thinking, or my hope, is that all of this work that I did will save you so much time and energy, because it's all step by step. It's all, thought out, and I will be adding more stuff all the time. There's a link below to the A Path to Peace. I called it. It's a 22-page overview of the course, and basically introduces you to connecting with me and working with me, maybe. But even if you don't work with me, I just want you to learn on this YouTube channel. If you're watching it on YouTube, I want you to learn a lot of things from me that will help you. Anyway, I want you to live in peace, and I want you to have joy. I can't guarantee that you will have the same outcome that I've had. For me, it's as if the trauma never happened to me. And this is the process that I use to get better. It's all, organized. And anyway, my therapist, I met with her, Lynn. I talk about her so much in this book, and I actually misspelled her name, so I had to go back and correct it. It's Lynn with an E at the end. When I went to Michigan in June, she read the book for me. When she was halfway through it, she called me, and she was like, oh my God, Maggie, this is exceptional. Now, she has a master's degree in counseling, and her whole career was working with trauma survivors. She said that in all of her years of counseling, all the books that she's read, she's never seen anything so good. And that this course would be as helpful as like the AA program is for Alcoholics Anonymous. She said the frameworks, everything was just, and the personal stories and everything was so, she just couldn't get over how good it was. And she's so proud of me, but I give her credit in helping to save my life. She was just so amazing. Anyway, I want so much for you. I want peace for you. I want so much. I've had this passion for like 13 years. I was with a friend in 2013. Yeah. And he was dying of lung cancer, and he told me his secret on the day that I was taking him to his last therapy appointment. And then I was invited into therapy with him. And to sit there and hear him say to his counselor that he basically let what happened to him when he was young destroy his entire life. And then I realized that the reason I was there was to see that I didn't do that, and what my life could have been. He was only 60, I think he was 62, but I was devastated. But I from that point, I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta share my journey with other people so that they don't get to that point in their life where they can't do anything to live a better life. And he died shortly after that. Oh my gosh, it was so life altering for me. So I believe that the universe, God, had me in that room. I mean, who gets invited into somebody's counseling session? That was divine order, synchronicity. It was crazy. But anyway, I love you. Be kind to yourself and do one thing today. It'll make your other days a little bit better. Just take one step, just something. Just do it.